Hello everyone, welcome to Much Ado About Gaming. My name is Jessa Blackthorne, I am your host. I hope you are having a fabulous Tuesday. Today we have got a great show for you, but before we get started, of course, as always, a couple of reminders. Much Ado About Gaming is the WizKids Board Game showcase. I talk about different board game products that WizKids comes out with. It's a lot of fun. We talk about a lot of different games, because of that, I can really only answer your questions about board games. So if you have a question about board games, please feel free to put it in the chat. This show is being streamed live, so you can type question in all caps in the chat and then your question, and I will try my best to answer it. I cannot guarantee I'll be able to answer all questions, but I will do my best, and in the off chance that I can't answer your question right away, what I usually will do is post it on my Twitter later on, so after the show is over, I can go and check on what the question was, and then I post it on my Twitter. If you would like to follow me on Twitter, you can do that at _Blackthorne. So that's Blackthorne spelled with an E at the end. You follow me on Twitter, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm also Jessa Blackthorne on Facebook. Those are going to be the best places, if I say I can't answer your question right away, to be able to get that information. I'll post my answer on Twitter as soon as I know. Another note about that is that because this is a show about board games, I can't really answer your questions about our other product lines, so I'm not really able to answer any questions about HeroClix, Dice Masters, Attack Wing, RPG. If you have questions about those things, the best place to get that information is WizKids social media and WizKids.com. That's going to be the best place to stay up to date with any RPG-related updates, any HeroClix related updates, any Dice Masters related updates, any Attack Wing related updates. I do host another show, and that is on Wednesdays, and that is the Model Behavior, which is the weekly WizKids RPG showcase. So be sure to tune in there if you have questions about RPG or if you're excited about our upcoming RPG products. Tomorrow's episode, I forgot to put in the graphic that I normally do, so I will tell you again at the end of the show, but tomorrow's episode we are going to be showing the Magic the Gathering pre-painted miniatures, the premium miniatures. So I'm really excited about that. I really love Magic the Gathering. So it's going to be really, really cool. But with that, let's talk about what we are doing today on the show. We are going to be showing off Free Radicals. So we have a copy of the game right here. Very exciting. This is an awesome game. I'm so excited to talk about it. It is so cool. So I'm going to be unboxing Free Radicals. It's going to be great. Free Radicals is coming out soon. I am really excited about it. I hope you're excited about it too. And without further ado, let's jump into our feature presentation. So, like I said, today we are unboxing Free Radicals. Before we get started with the actual unboxing part, as you know, I always like to show off some photos of the game. So here you can see some photos next to me, and I'm going to give you kind of the introduction of Free Radicals so that you understand what this game is all about. So I'm going to talk about the lore a little bit and talk about the gameplay, and then we'll get into the actual unboxing. So I'm going to read you the introduction from the rulebook. Gives you some context about the game. It has been just a few years since the Free Radicals forever changed the world. Their tech allowed us to produce and distribute nearly infinite energy, food, and resources, turning Earth into a utopia. In the absence of scarcity and suffering, people began to do anything their hearts truly desired. The Free Radical known as the Sphere appeared above the uninhabited Atacama Desert, west of the Andes Mountains, and a community quickly sprang up around it. In less than a decade, Sphere City has become a great megalopolis, a hub of culture, entertainment, knowledge, and freedom. Still, the Sphere has secrets left to give. Many factions seek to decode the true meaning behind the Free Radicals' cryptic transmissions in order to advance their own agendas. But, in what many suspect is part of the Free Radicals' plan, none can unlock the Sphere's knowledge alone. Cooperation and mutual aid is required in order to gain the Sphere's knowledge. Which faction will be the one to gain understanding of the Sphere's mysteries, awaken architectural marvels, and rise to prominence in Sphere City? Welcome to the world of free radicals. So that is the lore introduction. Ministry of Dice, thank you so much for tuning in. I am doing great today. How are you doing? So that is the lore introduction. So it's a very much, kind of futuristic world where these kind of alien structures and technology have come to Earth and turned Earth into a utopia, and now factions are fighting over the right to understand the mysteries of one of these pieces of technology known as the free radicals. So, in terms of the actual game itself, it's a dramatically asymmetric game with 10 unique factions that each have their own rules and objectives, and I think this game is so cool. I'm so excited. Although the factions all ultimately want to score the most victory points, their means of doing so vary wildly. It's really, really awesome. There's hand management, there's tile laying, there's pickup and delivery. So it's almost like each faction in this game is kind of playing... I hesitate to say a different game, but that's kind of how it feels. So each faction's kind of playing their own unique game within the larger game of Free Radicals. So, like I just said, there's pick up and deliver. There's a faction that does pick up and deliver. There's a faction that's inspired by dominoes. There's a faction that does my favorite, which is Mancala. I loved Mancala growing up, and one of the factions actually has Mancala as their kind of inspiration for what they do. So this game is super, super asymmetric, and what's really nice about it is that it plays up to 5 players, so each time you play, you can kind of play with the different factions and see how things interact differently. And you play for 12 rounds, and then as you're gathering resources, credits, and data, you advance your knowledge, you gain favor with rival factions, and then you awaken the free radicals. Whoever plays their faction most effectively will win the capricious favor of the free radicals and win the game. So it's a really great game where there's so much replayability. Apparently I can't talk today. This is what I get for streaming all weekend. For those of you who don't know, I was on a streaming show with Band of Badgers on Saturday. It was a lot of fun. You should definitely check that out. You can check out my Twitter for the link to that. It was super fun. But Free Radicals is also super fun. And I am really, really thrilled about this game. The way the factions are all so different, but they all kind of play into the same central area. It's one of those things where I feel like a lot of really asymmetric games, or a lot of games where, each person's kind of doing their own thing, it can often feel like you don't connect at all with the other players. And what I really like about this game is it feels like everyone's connected, even as you're kind of doing your own thing. And I really enjoy that. I really appreciate that. So you've been, seeing these photos on this slideshow, so let's go ahead and switch to the actual box of the game, which we're going to do right now. So this is the game itself. As you can see, we are unboxing. So the game, I didn't mention, the game is by Nathan Woll. Woll, I'm not sure how to pronounce that O, so if anybody knows Nathan, or Nathan, if you're in the chat, please do tell me how to pronounce the O in your last name properly. But I really love the art for this cover. So this is 3 of the different factions that are featured in the game. So you get to kind of see what the different factions kind of look like. So you have, these are the couriers right in the center with the purple hair here. Over here, you have the executives, and I think she's so cool. I think she looks like Grace Jones, and I love Grace Jones, and so I'm really excited about this character. And then over here, you have the hoteliers. We'll go with that. Who kind of build hotels. So you have a bunch of different really cool kind of faction representatives. These aren't all the factions. There's up to 10 factions. Each of the faction boards is double-sided, as you're going to see in a minute, but this gives you kind of a taste of the vibe of the game, and I think the vibe is awesome. So we're going to go ahead and take this lid off. Now, as I've mentioned in the past, this is a copy that was photographed somewhat. I think we just photographed the packaging on this, so it might look a little different than the way yours is packed back together. Because it's already been opened, it's not a copy that I just unsealed, so it might look a little different. I just forgot to show you the back of the box, but you saw the back of the box in those photos, so I'm not going to put the lid back on because I got lucky today, and the lid came out off without a problem. And if you've watched this show before, you know that does not always happen. So the inside of the box, of course, you've got the little WizKids catalog, which shows off a lot of the upcoming games as well as the recent releases. So it even has Free Radicals right in there with some of the other factions in it. Oh, I didn't notice this till just now. These are like wings. I don't know why I thought this was a trench coat. Is it different on the cover, or am I just blind? Apparently I'm just bad at seeing things. This is like either like wings or like a translucent trench coat. That's so cool. I did not notice that. So this fabulous art, by the way, is by Tomasz Chitowski. I'm not sure how to pronounce that last name, but beautiful art, really gorgeous, and even the graphic design on this is really nice. It's really just a great looking game either way. So of course you have the rule book, and then in addition to the rulebook, you have these sheets, which are really, really helpful. So what these are is they're kind of like reference sheets for each of the different factions. So these are technically they're player aids. I know normally when I think of player aids, I think of like a card, so something a little heavier. These are actually done as sheets because there's, with each faction kind of playing their own unique kind of game, it really does help to have these player aids on these bigger sheets. So you have one for each of the 10 factions, so you can see farmers, executives, artisans, underground. You'll notice there's 2 factions of every color, and that is because each pair of colored factions that match share a board, so that that it kind of cuts down on the amount of separate things we had to print, so it makes it a little cheaper to make. But they're still a lot of fun. Merchants, hoteliers, couriers, entertainers, and these are double-sided, by the way, so you can see. Adventurers and paladins. So these are just the player aids. So when you are learning the game, when you pick your faction, these will really help you to understand what your faction is doing. It's nice to have a singular reference for your faction because then you don't have to, keep passing around the rulebook as you're all trying to learn your faction's mechanics. It has it right in front of you. So it's a lot of really good, helpful information there. And then next up in the box, we have, these are the player boards. So you have, like I said, these are double-sided, so each side represents a different faction. So, Brandon, I agree. I think that the aid sheets are such a great idea. I think they're so clever and really helpful for making everyone's lives easier. I played a lot of asymmetrical games, and I always kind of find it a challenge to keep up with what's going on, and these have made it a lot easier. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about each of the factions as we look at their boards. Starting with the adventurers here. Adventurers explore the new urban environments, growing, building around the free radicals. So this faction is really for exploration, so it's you're kind of discovering different routes to victory each game, so they're kind of going on an adventure. It's I don't want to say it's like a dungeon crawl, but it's kind of like a dungeon crawl, but not really. Next up, we have the other purple faction, which is the Paladins. So Paladins want to ensure that free radical tech is used for the greater good. Paladins use a programming mechanism, which is also great for beginners. And players who kind of want to plan ahead and don't want to be locked, or don't mind being locked into their actions, will really like the Paladins because it kind of, it helps if you're someone who strategizes 3 steps ahead. It helps especially with that analysis paralysis. So that is the first player board. Next up we have the farmers. So the farmers use the free radicals to grow healthier, more sustainable crops. And the farmers use the domino-based mechanics. So you're as farmers, you're kind of, it's more of a slow kind of building gameplay. You do few actions in the early game, but then you ramp up towards the end of the game. So it's another one that's great for beginners because it kind of, you have time to figure out what you're doing. But it also, if you're someone who likes kind of saving up and then really jumping ahead towards the end of the game, the farmers are a great faction for you. Then we have the executives. So the executives forecast the future using free radical algorithms. Executives are great for players who want to control. This is the Mancala faction. I love Mancala, you know that. I have talked about that a few minutes ago. So this is I'm so excited. I haven't played this faction yet. I'm so excited to try it though. There are very few random elements, so if you're someone who kind of wants a game where you can predict things, executives would be a great faction for you. But the turnaround is that if you do make a mistake, the game is pretty unforgiving. So it's kind of what do you feel better doing? Then next up we have the artisans. Artisans inspire new genres of art using what's called hard light technology from the Free Radicals. So artisans have a hand management mechanic that they use. This is this is a faction that uses multi-use cards. And it's really about managing your hand to most effectively make use of those cards. So that's great if you want to play a kind of game like that, or you like games like that. The artisans are the faction you will enjoy. Then we have the underground. The underground are a clandestine group sharing the latest findings of free radical research. So the underground use deck leveling. So they're kind of customizing their deck and powering up their characters, and that's kind of what the underground does. So if you kind of like that kind of vibe in your games, this is going to be a great faction for you. I also just want to again call attention to how different each of these factions feel, not only mechanically but also aesthetically. They all feel 100% distinct, and that's pretty fantastic for a game with 10 different factions. Next we have the hoteliers. So the hoteliers want to develop real estate for tourists who want to see the free radicals. So this is for a really great faction for people who like puzzles, or you kind of like Tetris, that kind of thing. Hoteliers are the faction for you. But it can put you into difficult positions if you're not as skilled at those kinds of games, or again, if you make, mistakes, or you just kind of get unlucky. Then we have the merchants. Merchants seize the opportunity to sell bits and pieces of free radicals for a profit. Players who pay attention to their opponents and the true state of the game are going to do really great with the merchant. This is also a great faction if you like resource conversion engines in your games. I also want to call attention. This game, one of the really great things about the art in this game is how inclusive it is. And I just want to point out that the merchant is actually in a wheelchair, and I think that's really a fantastic thing that WizKids did here with that inclusivity and showing a disabled character in a positive light. So that is the merchants. And then the last pair of factions we have are the couriers, who do pick up and deliver. Like I mentioned earlier, they have the pick up and deliver mechanism. So they securely deliver free radical tech around Sphere City. You like pick up and deliver games, you're going to like this. And then the entertainers are the last faction. Entertainers broadcast live performances on, near, or about the free radicals. Now, the entertainers are all about optimizing randomness in the game. If you are someone who, you like randomness in your games, you like making the best of a random draw, that is going to be the faction for you, the entertainers. They are fantastic for that. I don't like randomness, it stresses me out, but if you do, definitely go for the entertainers. And so those are your 10 factions. Like I said, each of them have such distinct mechanics, such distinct gameplay. Everyone, though, is going to play to the center board. So there's interaction for basically every faction on the center board, which I'm going to show you now. It is very long, so I'm not going to be able to show you the whole thing on camera at once. I can maybe switch back to the other overlay to see if it fits on there to show you. But it's got 3 sections. It's folded in like a triad kind of thing. Here, let me just jump back here for a second so I can show you. This is what the board looks like, and there's sections for each kind of faction to interact on it. You can see there's along the bottom here, there are the different factions, and they kind of each control a different area of the board. So that is the main board for the game. Then there are a lot of components, a lot of smaller components. So the game does come with little Ziplocs, or Ministry of Dice. This is a big game. This is there's a lot of game here, but it is so cool and so fun that I'm really excited to play it. It also, from what I've seen, the like playtime can vary pretty wildly. So you can play it in like it could play out in 30 minutes. It could play out an hour, in an hour and a half, an hour. It really just depends on how the game kind of progresses, and which factions are in the game, which I think is really fun. I think that is really fantastic. So then we have the different little kind of tokens here that we're going to talk about. So each faction has 40 of these favor cubes. They're just little plastic cubes, and these are one of your kind of things you want to collect as you're playing the game. So we have, this is what they look like, and there's one of these for each color of faction, so you'll get 10 sets of these, 10 sets of 40 of these overall in your game. So you have the yellow, or I'm sorry, it's not 10, it's 5. I can count colors, so it's 5. So one of the things you have to keep in mind is because the boards are double-sided, you can only play with one of the same color faction per game. So like you couldn't play with both farmers and executives, which I mean it's a little bit disappointing, but it's not. I don't find it affects the gameplay at all. But so you have 5 of these in each one set in each of the colors. And then we have the resources. So you have carbon, which are these kind of black, kind of cylindrical. It's a hexagon is 6 sides. I don't know. No, it's a pentagon, isn't it? What kind of shape has 6 sides? Please tell me. I forget. But so you have these, which is the carbon resource. And then you have, so you have these, which are meant to represent hydrogen. So they look white in the rulebook, but they're really more of like a yellow kind of color. It looks whiter on camera, but it's really a very kind of light yellow. But just bear in mind that that's meant to be the hydrogen resource. And then you have titanium, which is gray, and you get 20 of each of these. So 60 kind of these little resource cube, pentagon, hexagon, whatever the shape is, overall. So it's 20 of each, and they're all that same kind of shape and style, just in different colors. So you have that. And then, of course, you also have faction-specific components. So you have these crystals. So these crystals, there are 7 of them. They are specifically for the farmers. And almost every faction, if not every faction, has specific components that are just for that faction. Not a component, the silica packet. Just a reminder not to eat those. You have some standees, which are used by some of the factions, but not all. I think you mainly use them for the merchants and the adventurer, and I don't know that you use them for any other things. 2, 3. Yeah, so it's every faction except the artisans have their own kind of specific components. I just wanted to double check that. Yeah, so it's that. And then there's also some cards that the game comes with, which I should have opened before I started this, and I did not. That's okay. 1 second here. No one has told me what the right shape is. Come on, chat. Ooh, there we go. So these are data cards. There are 50 of them that come with the game. A number of different factions use these. And they have these icons which represent the different factions, so those can affect the gameplay as well. So it's kind of... certain factions get more benefit from the data cards than other factions, and those are the factions that are indicated on the corner of the data cards. Oh, and there's another standee item, and that's the prestige token, which contributes to the gameplay as well. Then you have these little kind of mini cards, which again I need to open. And these mini cards are used again by almost every faction, not every faction, but you have the ones for the underground, which just kind of, depending on each faction's gameplay, they will affect the faction differently. It's just a way to kind of make things consistent by doing them as mini cards. These are the entertainers. So one of the kind of entertainer things is they do this, they're trying to predict the randomness. So these are prediction mini cards. So these go with the entertainers. So I'm actually going to go back here and do the entertainers on this side as well. These are the entertainer mini cards. It's a 6-sided shape, Ministry of Dice. It's just a standard 6-sided thing that I can't remember the name of. I think it's a... wait. No, it can't be. It's got to be a hexagon. Right? Because penta is 5. So it's hexagon. Anyway. I trust you, Ministry of Dice, to find out for me. It is hexagon! Yes! I was right. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So then we have the hoteliers have mini cards, and these are, you can kind of see, these are different shapes you're shooting for, so you can really see how the Tetris mechanics, the kind of puzzle mechanics come in there, which is really fun. And then we have, come on, get in the box, please. Thank you. Thank you. And then you have Paladin mini cards. So these for the programming mechanics that we talked about for the Paladins. And the art for the landscapes and the kind of sights are also really nice, not just the character art. So that's also something to keep in mind with this game. So I've shown you a lot of components. What if I told you there were even more components under this insert? Because there are. Because this is unpunched. So, we're gonna put everything back and then I'll take the insert out so I don't have to have everything all over the desk. But then I'll show you the other components, which are a bunch of tokens and Punchboard, which is always great. So, come on. Oh wait, I have to do this first. I know what I'd have. So when you put this back, the insert's really well designed for everything to be put back, as long as you remember to put everything back in the right order. There's also a reminder that there's Punchboard underneath the plastic insert, so if you're like, oh, I'm missing components, that reminder will kind of be a great place for you to check to be like, oh yeah, I forgot there's stuff under the insert. So that's a really nice thing to include, because I've had games where I've not realized that, hey, there's stuff under the insert, and then, you know, you don't get all upset because you think that you're missing components, but you're not. Alright. So, that is that, and then we are going to lift out this insert. And these are Punchboards. And the Punchboard is a mix of different components for stuff for the different factions, so why don't we go ahead and punch this really quick, and I'll kind of go over what each kind of thing is. And because we're punching this, we have to take everything back out. I don't think ahead sometimes. That's okay. Okay. So we have, these are for the adventurers. Yes? Yes. So what's really cool about these punch boards is they actually show you what faction they go with and what the actual item is. And I haven't seen a lot of punch board do that, where it specifies what each part of the punch board is for the person who's receiving it, which I really appreciate, because it means you're not having to constantly go, oh god, what does this go with? So this is an executive project. So they punch out really nicely. There are 10 of these for the executives, so I'm going to just go ahead and start punching things. You also have asset tokens for the executives. So I'm going to just punch out the rest of those. And there are 10 asset tokens and 10 project tokens for the executives. So you will get 20 of these tokens. They probably don't go here. They go in one of the little Ziplocs. But that's okay. I can clean this up later. Then we have crops for the farmers. So that is the next component we have. They're really pretty. So we have that on this board. And then more crops. More crops. Then in the middle here we have adventurer map tiles. So like I said, the adventure vibe is kind of like a dungeon crawl. So this kind of shows you the different tiles of the map that you can explore. So I'm gonna... and adventurers get 50 of these map tiles total. So you're gonna see a lot of these. Don't organize your insert like this. I'm just doing this because I'm live and it's faster than trying to fight with the Ziplocs. So as you can see, there's more adventurer map tiles down here. And then 4, 5. Cool. In my hand, you have a courier cost token. And there are a couple of different ones of these. And like I said, every single one of these is labeled on the punch board. So that really, really, really will help you when you're punching this game out with determining what goes with what goes with what faction. And you have these, which are courier goods. So these are the things you're delivering as the courier, if that's the faction you choose to play. You also have character standees. So these go with those plastic standees from earlier, and these are for the adventurers. And then you have the characters for the underground faction, as well as a stall for the merchant faction. And then you have what's called paladin discs. See that right there. And more courier goods. Where did that go? More underground character, merchant stall, and paladin discs. So that's punching one of the punch boards. So in total, I'm going to just go through how many of each of these kind of components each faction has. The adventurer has 5 standees and 50 map tiles. The courier has 3 drone tokens, which we did not see on that board. They're over here, actually. 3 drone tokens. 12 of those cost tokens, which were these. 16 of those goods tokens, which we were like those last things we punched, these little square ones. And then we have asset tokens. The executives have 10 asset tokens and 10 project tokens. The farmers have 21 of these crop tiles. Merchants have 5 of these stalls. Paladins, there are 5 paladin discs. And then the underground has 9 of these character upgrade markers. And then the hoteliers have these are the room tiles, and these are kind of the Tetris-y looking tiles, the puzzle tiles. So the hoteliers have a total of 50 of these in kind of different shapes and combinations. In addition to those faction-specific tokens, you also have the credit tokens. So there are 30 of the 1 credits and 15 of the 5 credits. You also have the prestige token, which I just saw. The prestige token, which you have 1 of. There is the standee for the merchant. And I believe that is all of the, yes, so that is all of the punchable components. So all in all, you are getting a lot of components with this game. There's a lot going on, but it's really cool because even though there's a lot going on, it doesn't require you to kind of know what everyone's doing at the same time. So that is our complete unboxing of Free Radicals, minus me punching everything because it would take forever. But I am really excited about this game. It's going to be a lot of fun. It is coming in either February or March, just depending on the global shipping and logistics crisis. But we are seeing it very soon. We are so excited about that. The game is $59.99. It plays 2 to 5 in 30 or more minutes, and it's going to be absolutely great. I can't wait for this one, honestly. I'm really, really excited about Free Radicals. But GM Workshop, oh, no worries, I understand. Definitely stream it later because this was a great show. We had a lot of fun unboxing Free Radicals, and but with that, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for Model Behavior, where I will be unboxing the Magic the Gathering premium pre-painted miniatures. That's going to be great. That'll be at noon Eastern Standard Time on the WizKids video channels, so YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you stay safe, stay healthy. I love you. WizKids loves you. Free Radicals loves you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye!